I thought I was going to live the rest of my life with handcuffs on my wrists. What's up, Toridactyls? So for those of you who don't know, today is my 19th birthday, which is why I'm wearing this wonderful birthday crown. And I would just like to clarify that I'm certainly not sitting at home alone on my birthday talking to a camera, because that would just be sad.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it.
But anyways, today I'm 19 years old, and sometimes I find myself wondering how I made it this far. Now, don't get me wrong, I had a great childhood, but sometimes it really does surprise me that I lived through it. Allow me to explain. So when I was younger, my sister and all of our friends used to live on the same block, so we'd all hang out and play outside all the time. But the one thing that I didn't really pick up on at the time was that apparently their favorite pastime was to all gang up on me and just mess with me in any way they possibly could. Now, I'm gonna start off with a disclaimer by saying that it's gonna sound like they were just being completely terrible people to me, and don't get me wrong, they definitely were, but I will also say that I definitely brought this upon myself entirely because I was literally so gullible. Like, anything they told me, no matter how ridiculous, I would believe immediately, no questions asked. And they quickly figured that out and decided to take advantage of that fact as much as possible. So I have a ton of stories that I can tell you guys for future videos if you want to hear them, but today I'm going to be telling you guys the story of the time that my sister and all of our friends tried to initiate me into their gang. Alright, so getting into the story, this was probably around the time when I was about 9 years old, and my sister and all of our friends who lived in this neighborhood were all older than me, so I looked up to them and I wanted to be like them, which was my mistake. So anyways, we were playing outside one day and my sister, two of my neighbors, and my babysitter came up to me. Yes, you heard me correctly, my babysitter was in on this. So they all came up to me and they were like, hey, so we started this club and we really want you to join, but it's only for the coolest people. So of course, any normal human being at this point would be like, oh, red flag, that's a trap. But then here's little gullible 9-year-old Tori, happy as can be. I was like, oh my gosh, do you think I'm cool? Newsflash, they didn't think I was cool. So they were like, yeah, we definitely think you're cool enough to be in our club, but you'll just have to go through a few simple tests for initiation. And again, this is where any normal child would run screaming. Not me. I was like, whoa, okay, totally, yeah, like what do I have to do? So they started explaining the first test to me and they were like, okay, so this first test is just gonna make sure that you're brave enough to be in our club. Long story short, they told me that they were gonna lock me in a shed in the dark for an hour, and that if I tried to get out of the shed, I couldn't be in the club. So of course, I wasn't afraid of the dark. I was like, oh, that's an easy test, of course. So I went in the shed and they locked me in there and they were like, all right, you need to stay in there for an hour. Little did I know, that wasn't all they had planned. So while I was sitting in the shed by myself in the dark, my babysitter went and got her brother who had a monster glove, and she told him to put on the glove and reach into the shed through a crack that was in the bottom by the corner where I was sitting and grab my leg with this monster claw. So of course he was happy to provide that entertainment. He reached in through the crack underneath the shed, grabbed my leg with the monster claw, and of course I ran out screaming because I was like 9 years old and I was terrified. And when I got out, they were all like, oh, you failed the test, but you know what? We'll let this one slide, we'll just try a different test. And of course, here's little 9-year-old Tori again, excited as heck because I thought I had lost my chance to be in this wonderful club. So they were like, all right, you failed the first test, but if you pass all the other 3, we'll still let you into the club. Then they started explaining the next test to me, which was apparently to test my athleticism. So they took me down to their lawn and they were like, okay, so for this next one, you just have to let us basket toss you, and don't worry, we'll catch you. Now, at the time, I had no idea what a basket toss was, so I had no idea that they were definitely not doing it right at all. But since there was 4 of them, each of them grabbed either a leg or an arm and had me hanging like a hammock, I guess. So of course, I'm freaking out because I think they're gonna drop me, but I'm not strong enough to like wiggle my way out of this situation at this point. So they all like counted to 3 and then they threw me up in the air by my arms and legs and did not catch me. Now, looking at how I turned out, that probably explains a lot. But anyways, they were like, all right, so we'll say that you passed this one just because that wasn't your fault, it was ours. And I was like, yes, great, just 2 more tests and then maybe I can make it into this club. So next they bring me over to their porch and they have a bunch of hair and makeup stuff set up there, and they were like, okay, so this next test is just to make sure that you're pretty enough and that you have enough confidence to be in our club. So they told me that they were gonna do my hair and makeup and make me look really pretty, and then I was just gonna walk around town with them and make sure I had enough confidence. Now, if y'all haven't caught on to where this one's going yet, you're probably as gullible as I was. So obviously they did not make me look pretty at all. They put my hair in like 2 big pigtails with like hair ties all the way down so they stuck basically straight out of my head. And then they just did horrific makeup with like red lipstick all over my face and like bright blue eyeshadow, and I just looked like a clown. So they got done and they were like, all right, now we just need to walk around town with you looking like this because you know how beautiful you are, and just make sure you're confident. And I was like, wait, but I want to see how beautiful I am. So I went to walk over to the truck that was in their driveway to look in the mirror, and they were like, no, you can't do that. It all has to be inner confidence. You can't know what you look like. And guys, I was like, wow, this is so inspirational. I never even thought of that. But like, obviously they just didn't want me to see myself because I looked stupid. So they took me around town, I passed that test, and they were like, all right, 1 more test to go. This is your last test. And I'm just like, yes, I'm so close, I can feel it. I'm almost in this club full of cool kids that I've always wanted to be as good as. So they explained the last test to me and they were like, all right, this one is super simple. We just need to test your endurance. So they brought me into their house and they got out this pair of play handcuffs that they had. And they told me that they were just gonna put the handcuffs on me and then time me to see how long I could stay in them without going insane. I don't know. So I get these handcuffs on and I'm like, all right, this is gonna be no problem. It's great. I actually have no idea how long I ended up staying in the handcuffs, but eventually I was like, all right, is that long enough? Like, I've been in here for like hours. It's fine. I win. I get to be in the club. So one of the 2 neighbors who own these handcuffs went over to the drawer where they were supposedly keeping the key and started freaking out. She's like, oh my gosh, we lost the key. You're never gonna get out of those handcuffs ever in your entire life. Now, the thing I did not know was that they were literally just plastic handcuffs that had a button on the side to undo them, but I started sobbing because I thought I was never gonna get these handcuffs off and I was going to live the rest of my life with handcuffs on my wrists. So I ran back over to my house crying and I was like, Mom, you need to get these handcuffs off me. I'm gonna die with them on. So my mom, who was obviously a lot smarter than me, pressed the button and took them off within like a couple seconds and then went over and yelled at my sister and our friends for messing with me. Long story short, we all had to go inside after that and I never ended up getting into the club.
When you try your best but you don't succeed.
So yeah, that's the story of the time that my sister and all of her friends, including my babysitter, tried to initiate me into their little cool kid gang. I definitely have plenty of stories like this one, so if you want to hear some more, make sure you let me know down in the comments section. But anyways, if you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button down below to become a Tori Dactyl. As always, I'll leave the links to my social media in the description below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!